Hello and welcome to All My Art and Soul. I'm Michelle Holden, the mixed media artist behind all these abstract journaling pages. This week is number 18, and I've called it Blue, even though I'm not really starting off with blue, as you can see, because I like to intuitively just choose the papers that I might want to use. Sometimes I use them, but lately I have noticed that I am going to a much simpler use of color and form, and so stick around to the end of the video so you can see how it turns out. And I just love blue. So again, these are my favorite blue hues, Liquitex and golden manganese, because it's very transparent, and that's what I'm applying right now. I believe I gessoed the surface and I just roughed it up a little bit, and really liking that initial texture. Plus, it really thickens the page a lot. I also have a teal and an ultramarine, Hansa yellow, and yellow oxide, and white and black. And that's all I'm using this week. So I went and just selected some blue pages, but for some reason it just wasn't that feeling that I'm looking for. And I know I've spoken about this in almost every video, or at least the latest ones. There's a feeling that I'm searching for, and this page, I would believe, is the closest to it in its value, in its simplicity, and also the marks and shapes that I really love to use. So making a nice, it's not a perfect edge, and that's what I like about it, but using this painter's tool, and I wanted a little bit more upper black value compared to the lower. And I think I end up dividing the page into thirds, like I always do, in some kind of odd number range. The odd time it might turn out to 6, but 3, 5, 7 are really good. Now, this is what I like about this edge. Because I've used some thick paint and thin paint along that edge, it's very light and very dark, and it changes. So it really is an interesting contrast. It's a high contrast, but knowing this, I could have just used a slightly darker blue. I could have used white, and getting the same interesting texture effects, but adjusting my value the way I want. So these are things that we need to remember for our next page. And I hold the brush that way. I use the larger one just because I like the strokes on that, I guess, particular angle, which is sort of almost like a 45-degree angle when I'm brushing. And then, of course, my handy dandy dryer. Really enjoying this, having it right close by. And then, of course, I'm testing it using the green painter's tape this week. I purchased the yellow, and I'm using that in the next page. I can't believe the difference in the edge and the ease of taking it off. So here is this, I can't tell if this is the tracing paper that's very delicate. No, I think it's the deli paper that I've just stenciled on. And right now I'm just searching for that next shape and the ratio, the size. What's going to look good here? And I'm trying to stay away, mostly, sometimes you can't help it. It's just it's gonna want to go the way it wants to go, especially if you're using the intuitive process, and you just have to listen to it. and then spin out afterwards, and then discern then. So these are my Stencil Girl stencils, just the few that I have. In the future I plan to get more. And I'm really liking organic, simple shapes. So I'll have to go searching on that website again and see what I can drum up. So adding a very thin, or narrow, I would say, black area to the bottom, just to give it some anchor, some weight. And I love this dark to light, moving from down to up, that kind of a feeling. That's the direction of energy, I guess you would say, or I would say. And I like how it's just a very narrow area. That does change in a moment. Now there's a beautiful, again, the collage papers that are so simple, just rolled across with my brayer with leftover paint, always seem to be the most interesting pieces. So just testing, making sure it's totally dry before I move on. There it is. So I kept the brayer in a square formation, not going all the way to the edge. And then I really liked how, as you can see, when I first laid down the brayer, the dark area, and then I moved it up slightly, and there was just enough paint on it to get a slightly lighter gray. And in my mind, it's like, okay, opposites. I love it. Don't know where that came in, and that's just some copy paper left over, as you can see. So I'm just going to prepare that with my high gloss, heavy gel gloss. And I think it's just an artist's loft, just from Michael's. I figured, that's good enough. At least it's, because my other one was drying up, and when I need to go to Curry's art store, it's a 3-hour drive from where I live. So you're beginning to see everything's a 3-hour drive from where I live. But we'll save that for another video and another time. Oh, and I really like to put a nice layer on top, since it's copy paper, and when it dries, it can handle any new layers that I'm going to put on after, on top. But I did notice, even though I dried that high gloss medium, so I think I need some more uniformity of the blue. Now, of course, in hindsight, maybe a slightly different blue, a turquoise blue, slightly different, would have been even more interesting. So I'm going to keep that in mind. The white area above the large black rectangle is the area I'm referring to. So my hexagon, it's just not working. Too much. I've done that too much. And then there's this piece. So this piece is made on the jelly print plate, rolled on with a brayer, black paint, and then I've drawn the catalyst wedge, the one with the tooth through it, or anything, and just made those waves, and I've made quite a few pages of those. And this, so I'm just trimming off the edges, just playing with the scale a little bit. And so after I trim both sides, and I really like the frayed edge on the top, I'm happy with the scale of this shape, which, what is it? Sort of a, I forget the name, my mathematical terms, it doesn't really matter. It's it can represent anything, but I like its singularity, just one thing at the bottom, and that it's different from the rectangular shapes above it. So we have all these rectangles, the large black area, everything's long and narrow, and then there's this. So, what to put above? So this is tricky. So right now, if I'm just, there's nothing going on in the video, I'm probably sitting there thinking, which I probably shouldn't be doing because I want to just react. So then I just started playing around with the blue. I really felt, okay, that one side, the right-hand side, was a really good choice in, there's my circles again, but I thought, no, I don't think so. So I didn't like the size of them. They were too big. And then I'm just placing things around. But I warm up that one side, I think with some yellow ochre or that yellow oxide, and I just water it down. I guess you'll see that in a moment or two. So then here's tissue paper, which I really am running out, especially the blue, which is my favorite, especially the blue over the black. If I want just very thin layers and very transparent, I really love transparent layers. And then an opaque layer next to it. So those differences really make the other pop. So there's all my dots. Whoa, way too many. So the horizontal lines are different, but they're just not the feeling I'm looking for. So then I decided, okay, since this manganese is so transparent, I'm going to just fill in all those white areas and with the same color. And I don't do anything. It's just watered down, just straight from the bottle, which also in the future, I am really going to be experimenting with color. Okay, so here comes that thin layer. I thought it's just too white. It needs, it just needs some difference. I really, like a turquoise or even something slightly different really would have worked. I still can do that, but I think it dried enough, and that was a damp cloth that I just removed some. So I just wanted the hint, that subtlety is so important. So I'm gathering some papers on the side, trying to decide what my next move is. Trying to keep that feeling going, just to keep the flow going of this page. So my go-to is a circle. I don't mind it. It would have been okay, but I've done that so many times. I'm just going to save that for another page. Searching around for some more blue. I really want to keep this page monochromatic, even though I did use a tiny bit of yellow on the right side. So I'm just, so another piece, another collage piece, at first rolled with leftover paint, and then I stencil over it with the stencil girl stencils that I've showed you, the circles or dots. And I'm thinking that's okay. It might be a little long, that rectangle. I really should have made it a square, but I might trim it, and I'm not sure if I do or not. But again, I am in the luxury of hindsight here. When you're in the moment, you may or may not notice these things. So I'm thinking, do I want it asymmetrical? Do I want it right in the middle? So I do catch this, and I just lower the size a bit. It's definitely better. Yes, the beige tracing tissue paper was really taking away all of the blue. I'm so glad I didn't do that. And I kept this really symmetrical just because the design is predominantly that way. So I think I'm happy with that. So then I just put down my gel medium, making sure there's no bubbles. And I really like this little brush because I can push hard on it, but not too hard because I've torn my papers from time to time. So up, above, low, to the side, and I do think I end up putting it, oh, too late. I wanted to lower that. So then instead of moving that rectangle, I just decide, okay, let's just put this right here below, as if it's moving up. It's moving from one space, one realm to the other realm. Now, what's my next move? What do I do? So I want to be careful with the scale of things, the size. And I do believe I'm just making that black at the bottom heavier, more opaque. And then, yes, my little aluminum pipe. And now I have to decide where they're going to go. So I start in the center, which is sort of cool. And I thought, no, we need a whole row here. We need a row. And it's not perfectly, on the same plane. And I don't know, maybe at some point in another page or space and time, I might want to do that. So I'm just loving them just going across. This reminds me of, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, it's not 8, but I might have put 8, pushed them together a bit, making the 8 phases of the moon or a planetary something or other going across. So it depends how you interpret this, right? So I'm trying to use symbols that I really love and keeping the meaning rather ambiguous. I love it. More mystery. I find if you lay things out too much, there's nothing for your viewer to think about. So right now, those broken lines, I'm going, no, if I do that, then that's going to overpower that row of circles that I just attached. And then there's that crackly, and I'm deciding, you know what? I have enough shapes. I need something else. What does it need? I love my zigzags. That may have worked, but they combat with the circles. So I've been wanting to put these things, see that singular shape? There's already one on the top, so I don't want to repeat. And I really love how I'm going across with my hand, and I realize it needs writing. It needs a message. Now I decide to use black, so wait for it. I'm searching for something. There it is, looking for my marker. So the Posco marker, and I'm just planning my writing. So the famous 3 questions. Who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? And I really love how the marker pushes that black layer, and it does something interesting. So it's just so simple. It's that scratchy, and I might even make it more scratchy. I use pencil here, but I might even use that big needle that I use to unclog my paints and just scratch that surface a bit more. I could have even scratched in the words if I had the right surface. So I'm going to keep that in mind as well. And then I love in the later time of day when the water is full of sparkles, depending on the angle of the light hitting it. So I have been trying to emulate the energy that shows. And of course, I'm getting closer each time, just because It's the amount of contrast that you need with the blue, the whole feeling of this thing. It has to go with it. And I'm really liking, so the ones in the distance are more faded, and these ones with the pottery tool, the rubber, that's a rubber tip, really do a nice job by making the dots a little larger. And I don't overdo it. I'm just trying to emulate energy, whatever that is, whatever that might mean to the viewer. And there's just one more thing that I do to this piece. Oh, there's that little dot there, but I can cover that up with some blue later or scrape it off later just with an X-Acto knife so you don't see it. And then if it does leave a little scratch, you can use your finger and fill it in with the black using a damp rag, and it'll just look like a scratch. So I might do that. So that little bit of sprinkle, and I notice there's a couple of blobs that are too big. So I hope I rub those out with a cloth. And I know I use this effect a lot. Yeah, there we go. And just, oh, great. Way to go. So, yes, you have to wrap it around so you can get in there. And then, of course, so I'll go in and sprinkle over that section so you can't see it because now it's just bugging me. There we go. Because I rubbed some of that black off. There we go. Nice. So I just added a little more water to thin it out. And I don't know if I dab it again. Probably it's best just to leave it alone. So here we go with some more sprinkles right on top. Yes. So it doesn't matter because those little dots pushed it back. So now your eye isn't staying there. Oh. Yeah, there's that. I'm trying to move that with my nail. I don't know. I didn't notice it. It just dried, I guess. Just a few there. Oh, and I noticed that I messed up the edge. I probably caught that with my hand on the right where the blue meets the black. And I probably, so now I'm making sure this is dried because these little dots, they can smudge, as you can see, very easily. You don't even notice. So maybe my sleeve did that. I don't know what did that. But I do fix it, I believe, especially in the photograph that I usually show, the image that I show of the piece in the end. And I'm really happy with the simplicity of this, really loving the blue and the black and the energy and the feel. So I find that is slowly coming. It's such a slow process. I know some other artists are, that's just how I work. And we all work so differently. And I don't know about you, but lately I'm feeling very grateful to be able to do this. And I'm even more grateful to share this art with you. And I would like to thank everyone for subscribing and creating along with me. And don't forget to hop on over to the Facebook page. There's been wonderful stuff. Small books, amazing textures. You really should check it out. The links are in the comments. While I peel the tape off the edge, so it doesn't give me a hard time because I'm gessoing my pages first, just because I'm liking what's happening. They're heavier. And I just number it, sign it as to what, ta-da, it is on the bottom. And I'm loving that crisp edge. So I'm hoping that you're loving it too. And keep up. And if you just found my channel, welcome. And I hope you join Join me as I continue to learn and create and explore the world of abstract, which is really going inside. It's a whole world of moving inside yourself, and it reflects you. And that's why I just love saying art is the journey of the heart to the soul. And that's what it is. So I will see you in the next video. Please subscribe, share, and like, because it will definitely help the algorithm for YouTube and help my channel grow. See you next time.